Show a book on the video.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Love is the path. Our relationship with others is this projection of our own relationship with ourselves. This overcoming imposter syndrome. Oh no, you're here, but it's gonna get better though. Like, yeah. You just came here?
Yeah,
You
it's
already
been.
have a podcast? Writers never finish books. Readers do.
I mean, if your thoughts are so deep and it's like so many people say, the universe aligns itself to come to you. Like maybe it happened and someone approached you through the LinkedIn and it happened. And how did you find your publisher?
They found me.
Oh, nice. That's interesting. How did it happen?
I have to get out of here. I need a different job. So I have to ask the tough questions. Meaning of life. And
I should definitely read the third part to get some. That might be helpful for my research too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. We have Claudia, a TEDx conference speaker and author of a book, Love is the Path, and a part of SEG community, Social Enterprise Greenhouse, which is in Providence, Rhode Island, right here. So let's see. This podcast is all about Claudia and her book, Love is the Path. And we are going to discuss on how she started with the book and how is the process and structure and how it's going right now. So, Claudia, just do you want to give a little brief about yourself?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for reaching out to me. I feel like very privileged to be your second guest.
Thank you.
I'm pretty sure you have a list of people you want to interview, so thank you. Thank you for the honor. Well, as you said, Claudia Cardozo. I'm originally from Colombia. I came here in 2002, seeking for the American dream, as many immigrants do. And I work in many different industries, banking, insurance, microfinance, economic development. And recently, since 2014, I've been doing coaching on the side. But in 2022, after my middle life crisis, which we may talk about, I decided to leave my corporate job and do my business full time and write a book and embark on some transformational trips.
Nice. Do you want to show a book on the video?
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Love is the path.
Well, that's actually interesting. So I actually resonate with how you started your American dream starting from 2002. I just came to US in 2023 January. Like I just started.
What? You just came here?
Yeah,
You
it's
already
been.
have a podcast?
No,
Amazing.
I mean, it's just 2 years I was here, and I came here for my master's and doing like different stuff. I was involved in technical things and my own startup, everything on that part. Apart from that, I'm actually interested in your journey because I'm in the same path. I believe I aspire to become one. So you mentioned you started from 2002 with doing different jobs. And for disclosure, I did not read your book. I want to have a very fresh perspective on having these conversations because if I read your book, I'll be having entirely different perspective on you, and I might not ask some questions I want to ask. Yeah. So that's the disclosure I want to give you. So you did multiple jobs. I actually read the sample in the beginning. So where you mentioned you did odd jobs and all, so many different jobs from the beginning. So it is actually resonates with so many people here in the US. Like nobody wants to be in the situation they are in right now, or if they are in bad situation, did not wantedly put themselves there. It depends on the situations they have. So they always seek some good path to become. So I think this journey of yours is going to help so many people aspiring the same. Actually, I think so. I believe so. Starting with your corporate life in the America, what are some things or challenges you faced that actually transitioned your path of having a job to pursuing coaching industry?
I'm going to answer that question, but if you don't mind, I would like to go back to the beginning.
Sure, definitely, yeah.
Right to the beginning.
Sure, yeah.
So, coming here, so I was a pattern maker in Colombia. I used to do clothing. So I used to do the patterns and send them for production. I used to work in a manufacturing company doing that. And when I came here to Rhode Island, I couldn't find jobs in manufacturing because a lot of the jobs were being like shipped overseas. So, so I started working in a restaurant, and I worked a year rolling burritos and frying tacos. That was my first job. And every single night I would just go to school. I mean, go to the church across the mall. It was a Providence Place mall. Across the mall, the Lutheran church there had like English classes. So every single night after working all day, I'll go and study English because I know how important it was. And in my job, I remember that one day I was just cleaning the floors, and the manager was like she was a little bit rude. And, she wasn't nice. Let's just put it that way. And I was scrubbing the floors because she thought it would be better if I'm in my knees scrubbing the floors. And I was there on my knees and cleaning the greasy walls, and it was like a stain wall, like you can see your reflection. And I had so much pimples and like all the grease from the kitchen. And I look at myself, the reflection, and I said, I have to get out of here. I need a different job. So that's what, put me in the journey to go to Rhode Island College, to do an insurance technician training, to get an office job, But there at the insurance job, it was tough doing the passing the licenses, the property and casualty, life and health, state licenses, because I was like learning English at the same time that I was learning insurance terminology. So it was like a lot of work, but I was so happy to have a job. So I was already like 2 years into the job, and I found myself unhappy because
nice, yeah.
Because the job was mostly like commission, like salary plus commission, and I love teaching. I had this passion for teaching, so I would actually give my clients too much information, right? And I would not be able to sell an overpriced insurance product to someone in an low-income community that I was working in, if I knew that they could get a better policy someplace else. So, so that's like another challenge. Okay, where do I go now? But I was very good at networking. So I came here alone. So I think it was just like an innate knowing that I needed to connect with people. So I had a good network. I connected with a mentor, and she coached me for a job with the state. So I can tell you many different stories, but going back to the initial question, after working 20 years, 20 years here in Rhode Island, in serving the community, but pouring myself into my job. Basically, my self-worth was based on what I did. Not who I am, but based on what I did, right? To the point that I was neglecting my personal relationships. So in 2022, I had a midlife life crisis. I found myself alone and disengaged from my job because many things changed. My daughter had already graduated. I mean, she was already out of the house, pursuing her own job, life. I had broken up with my fiance. I was going to get married. That relationship plummeted. The tough questions, meaning of life, And so it's through challenges, through adversity, that I feel that we learn the most. And it was because I had that difficult experience that I asked myself the tough questions, and I started designing a life that it was more aligned with what I want to do.
what inspired you to write your book,
Mhm.
or why did you write your book?
Thank you, thank you. So I was in one of my trips in Dominican Republic, and I had this amazing experience with my soul sister Angie and Cosmic. They were mentoring me and supporting me with retreats, like solo retreats and amazing things that that I had the opportunity to do there. And towards the end of those retreats, so I did like an Ayurveda retreat with Angie, and with Cosmic was more about like grounding to the earth, like claiming my ancestral roots and connection to Pachamama. And after the retreat, we gathered together and we started dreaming about the things that we wanted to do. And I went to my journal and I wrote. And I did this outline of the book, which is a little bit different than how it is now, but it's the essence of what it is now.
Got it.
And 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 I wrote it because I was like, I'm pretty sure that there is people like me out there that were surviving without knowing it. And I wanna explain to people like what I have learned and like and it was just this realization that I lived my life a little bit in the dark, and now I have some answers and I wanted to share them. So when I come back from the trip, I I came across to a publisher, and we
The initial inspiration is from the trip that you went in Dominican Republic, and you're recollecting your ancestral roots, and you're like spending time for yourself and doing some inspirational things and all. Oh, that's interesting actually. So that's how the concept of writing a book started, right?
I always wanted to write a book, but it was clear for me the moment. So after going to Spain and going to Dominican Republic, I did those two trips. Like I traveled far away to get very deep into myself. Like it was physically traveling to these places, but it was an inward journey. And um and it was there in Dominican Republic that I say I do have something to say, and I want to share it with the world. So.
Cool, interesting. And do you want to say a little bit about what is there inside this book and the content in the book, and what is the structure of the book? Yes.
Yeah, so the book is, thank you for the question. The book has three parts. The first part, I call it The Journey to Self. And it starts with my middle life crisis, like kind of waking up that I needed to do things differently. And then I start like wondering, where is this lack of self love coming from, right? And then, I make sense of like my life experiences growing up. Like I grew up in a group home. I my father wasn't around, my mom couldn't really take care of me, like I was neglected and abused for a big part of my, you know, childhood and teenage years. So I start making peace with the past because I understand that we are products of our environment. We all are born pure, innocent, full of love and light, right? And in how we grow up, who we have, our zip code, or who we have for parents, or like, it creates a belief system in us that sometimes doesn't serve us as much, right? So to understand that created a lot of peace and like sense of self-understanding. So then the second part of the book is more about like me navigating different works. Like I talk about leaders that left a mark, workplaces where I belong. And I talk about the need for love in the workplace. And I advocate for leaders to live with compassion and empathy because you never know. You never know what people is going through or like. So, and then the last part of the book is making a case for what if the workplace was a healing place? What if we create workplaces where, we we are committed to the flourishing of others. We are relating to others to the lenses of curiosity and empathy and teaching others how we want to be treated.
Nice.
Right? And like owning our own triggers.
Nice, interesting.
Right? So if we were to have a space where we all are aiming to be our authentic self and realizing that all of us are reacting from what we have, right? But if we create like loving, nurturing environments, I think love helps us flourish.
That's interesting, actually. So I'm actually more into the last part, but so just to summarize, first part is your journey, and second part is on leadership, and third part is on how we can make our workplace better, kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So why I'm actually interested in third part is I'm actually working on a project. So my project is connecting non-profits with volunteers.
Okay. Nice.
So this actually an ideation process I'm going through with SEG. I already did that, and right now I'm in the research phase on how I can make it better and find a good business structure to start on. So the main goal is act as a catalyst between businesses, universities, and individuals, maybe students and all, everybody, and non-profits, and connect these two parties together.
So you will be a liaison between the volunteers and the organizations leading the volunteers?
Exactly.
Nice.
Exactly. So still in the research phases, but I'm trying to make it more better. Yeah, that's why I'm more interested in the last part you're saying. So initial idea was like to find the purpose of people's, like everybody is having some form of job, but at some point of life they did not like the job they are doing, and some people, they're just working for money and they don't have a purpose for it. So if somebody can find a purpose for themselves, they can actually work for their entire life for free sometimes. So that's what we can see, right? I can resonate with myself. And for example, if you are interested in doing something every day for free, that means that's your purpose, like, right? So that's what I'm working on, researching around and finding some things, and I'm trying to connect with as many people as possible. That's so. I should definitely read the third part to get some. That might be helpful for my research too. Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
So
I love. May I comment on the idea?
Yeah, sure, definitely. Yeah.
No, I love it. I absolutely love it. I think I have had people that said, "Oh, reach out to volunteers to help you," and I'm like, volunteers are. It could be you could have like great volunteers, but sometimes volunteers need
Exactly.
the commitment, like you have to, right? So yeah, sometimes when you're like a solo entrepreneur, like juggling everything, you don't have the capacity to have a volunteer and mentor the person, right? But if you are a liaison and you are maybe educating the employer, the company, and then empowering the volunteer and like being the liaison and really creating an ecosystem where you match, these volunteers with the right opportunities, and the volunteers are energized and growing and learning and happy.
Exactly.
That energy is going to bring so much value to the organization. So I love the idea. Brilliant idea.
Thank you so much. Yes. I hope your book actually helps in part of my research too. I have to read it now. Yeah.
Nice.
So, and going to the next part, we covered on why you wrote the book and what's the theme of the book. You have three parts. And now let's cover what is the process you follow, the beginning of conceptualization or ideation of writing your book till the end of the process, like publishing the book, and what happens after the publishing. Do you want to elaborate on the process you follow?
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I so after having had like an idea of this book outline, that I wanted to create, I came across to a publisher and signed up for the program. It's a hybrid publisher, meaning that they were going to walk me through the process of writing a book, which was very, very helpful for me. So the first thing that they asked me was to work on a tension statement.
Tension statement.
Tension statement, yes.
Okay.
So this is like something that goes against like public knowing, like conventional knowing. So the tension statement that I came up with is nearly everyone thinks that love and validation come from the outside. But through love and validation comes only within.
Mm.
So that was, like an exercise of clarity, like the thesis of the book per se.
Mm-hmm.
So from that, it becomes more. It gives me clarity to put together, the chapters, to do kind of the outline of the table of contents, um, and then it was just write as much as I could within these chapters that I had outlined. Um, and I mean, it's very different in the book now from the first draft, but the exercise was to just write, like put everything you thought into the manuscript. And many times I would put parentheses and I would put like, research, find a statistic here, put the story about X, Y, and Z, but it was just writing and it was like a sprint. So after I finished my manuscript, I took some time, a month and a half or so, almost 2 months, where I would not look at the manuscript. And in that time, I started doing a pre-sale. Mm-hmm. So I did a marketing campaign for the book without finishing it, because that's what the publisher was advising. Mm-hmm. And then after, doing the pre-sale of the book and building a community, this was essential. Mm-hmm. So I was able to get like 70 early supporters. And it was extremely helpful for me. And it was also a big motivation. Like people bought my book before it was done. So I had so much sense of responsibility for my readers. And then after a couple of months, I come back and now it's just a process of editing. There's different editors that were working with me in different stages of the book, like the structural editing. Someone that read the book and gave me feedback about, okay, does this really belong in this chapter? There was the developmental editor, and then there was a copy editor at the end. So, it's a very rigorous process of going through all of the content. And I had my book launch on October 10th. Nice. Of last year here at SCG, so it's very special. Nice. That you invited me here because this is where I had my book launch, and it has been an amazing experience. I know every person that reads the book connects with something there. Mm-hmm. I mean, there was just one gentleman who said, like, reading your book helped me appreciate my life more. So meaning maybe he didn't really connect with a lot of things there, but it gave him perspective. But other than that, which was positive too, but other than that, everybody's like, oh yeah, no, I know what you're talking about here, and like I struggle with that too, and like, and my mom also, left me for a few months before she came to the U.S. and like, so anyway, it's a beautiful, nice, beautiful, fulfilling sentiment to connect with readers in that way. Nice. So to summarize, starting from the ideation process, once you got the idea, you actually found a hybrid publisher, and after finding a publisher, you followed the process from that point. You got the structure, you wrote something, and you have these scripts, and you have kind of sprints that you put yourself to do research and to do some statistical things and all. That's actually good. And how much time it took for you? A year and a half. A year and a half, and in between you took some break too. It was very cathartic. It was a process of, it was painful, remembering a lot of things, and sometimes I had to call my mom, like, because, yeah, some things like they're there, but then you get the details, and like as you start piecing all these things about your life and making sense, and then you put it down, and like I would cry, and then later I would read it, and I was like, oh, but, and it's like, in the process of rewriting your story, there is so much healing. So much healing. I mean, even if I would recommend anyone, the field that want to be more aligned to their authentic selves, or wants to get rid of self-criticism, get rid of things that hold us back, journaling is such a healing experience. Nice. It's good to know.
And yeah, back to the summarization, you started with hybrid publisher, followed the process, and you also connected with multiple editors in different phases. And finally, you launched the book at SEG. And after launching, you are actually enjoying the feedback and the people resonating from what you wrote in the book and your stories and all.
Yeah.
Coming to this part, I actually have some questions wrote from audience. So I have actually did some research and I was meeting with some people uh, saying I'm doing this podcast with Claudia. Do you have any questions with Claudia? And I got some good questions. And mostly these questions are on how to write a book and how mostly writing your book part. So first one is like, did Claudia find the publisher and editor came along with the publisher, or is it separate?
It was a publisher that had the editors, and it was just a very comprehensive team of professionals
Got
that
it.
guide me through all the process. Yeah.
Got it. So it comes with the publisher.
Yeah.
Got it. And how did you find your publisher?
They found me.
Oh, nice. That's interesting. How did it happen?
It's when you are. Sometimes life doesn't work, and sometimes like mine, life is so aligned. Like I came from the Dominican Republic, and I was already thinking like I wanna, write a book. Like this is, I was more clear about it. And all of a sudden, I got like a LinkedIn message. Someone invited me to this, community of writers, and with a path to publishing. And yeah, so I didn't look for them, and I did a little research after, comparing different options, and decided to go with them. But yeah, they found me.
That's interesting. I mean, if your thoughts are so deep and it's like so many people say, the universe aligns itself to come to you. Like maybe it happened and someone approached you through the LinkedIn and it happened finally. Yeah.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Like when you have a deep desire, you have a dream, but then you start believing that it's possible for you. Like if you can't, because if you have a dream but you have excuses and you're like, I don't have time, blah blah blah. But if you say this is gonna happen and I don't know the details, then the universe is gonna show you the details. It's mystical.
Yeah, that's interesting to know. So yeah, it's all about our desire, I guess. Yeah. And next question is, the questions are like, how did you find your editor? So as you already mentioned, it comes with the publisher, and you also mentioned you went through the different editors for different structures or different phases of your book. So does that also include with the publisher, or you found some editors separately for different structures?
No, it was a program. It was a program that encompassed like all of the phases and the steps to get the book from idea to just finished product.
That's nice. That's nice. The next question is like, did you come up with a theme for your book, or you are writing it organically about your life?
Oh my god. I don't know how to answer that question because there are two things that are coming up for me. One is that I kind of write the book 3 times. So the first time I wrote the book, which was like the first draft, I mean that's normal, the certain iterations, but the first time I wrote the book, it was more like for me, like I put so much details about like my life in Colombia and so the second time I wrote the book, I thought more about like how do I support like an immigrant coming to this country that have dreams that wanna um how do I help this individual to overcome the limiting beliefs, or to rewrite their stories in a more uplifting way. And in my mind, it's like I'm writing these for people like me. Actually both. People like me, but I was also thinking like, the leaders, that impact immigrants. And then when I was in the third process of editing, one of my editors say, who is your ideal client? And I said, I answered to her, well, it's both. because she had questions about like I feel like you're talking to two people here, and I said to her, yes, it's both. It's the immigrant and it's the the leader. She said, you can't have two main audiences. You need to have one. So I rewrote parts of the book, thinking this book is for leaders. I want this book to be for leaders to help them empathize with the immigrant story and to help them reflect on their leadership style so they can be more empathetic and be more inclusive, right? So, but at the end, anyone that reads the book can be an individual leader. It's going to take something, but but the book is more marketed for the leader now.
Got it. That's good to know. So, is it like you started writing your book organically in the beginning and you have like three drafts, like three versions of your own book, and after getting to some point you are organically writing your work, you started structuralizing it and coming up with a theme of leadership and immigrant people, putting the ideal customers in.
More about the voice, more about like who I'm talking to. So the structure was always there. The structure was like the journey to self, places that I belong, really love in the workplace, and the hidden workplace. But it was just changing ways in the book where I'm like, who am I really talking to? Because I reflected, and when I had to make the decision, is this book mainly for immigrants or for leaders? I said, the person that I want to help the most, like that single mom that came to the United States, that is working in a restaurant, that's going to school at night. She's not going to read my book. So that was me, right? So she's not going to read my book, but leaders, the leader, if that leader that asked me to be on my knees, scrubbing the floors, would have read this book, it would have had a little more respect and more curiosity for for the employee.
That's interesting. What are some challenges you faced in the process of writing your book?
Overcoming imposter syndrome. That was a big one.
I feel that, yeah.
It was a point. Like I started, like I'm like, oh my god, I have all of this like new knowledge, wisdom. Like I want to tell the world. I want to tell the world. And as I started doing my research, and like I started learning how much I didn't know. You start second guessing yourself, and but thankfully, because I belong to a community of writers, so we will come together sometimes and write together. We will be on Zoom, just writing, like mute, but it was like this support system, and we'll talk to each other, and also my publishers faculty will come and say, oh, it's totally normal if you're feeling this way. That's that's that is they show us like a curve of like how the writer feel in the process of writing the book, and like, oh no, you're here, but it's gonna get better, or like yeah, like that. But yeah, so that was very, very helpful to know that these feelings that I was having were actually a normal part of the process. And the other thing that was extremely helpful for me is when they, when I needed like to let it go, let the book go, and it's good enough. They say, the publisher said to me, writers never finish books. Readers do.
Okay. That's okay. That's
the
interesting.
writers abandon it because you're in this process of like kind of perfecting the things that you believe, and like doing research and like trying to put it there in a way that is respectful to the reader, and it's like it feels like it's never good enough.
Is it like being a perfectionist?
So that's very unique to the writer. I do have that tendency of being, that's something that I've been working on. So for me, yes, definitely the perfectionist tendency. But beyond that, it's also like a normal feeling of every writer because when you put this out there, it's like it's already You know what I mean? Like, and it's kind of outdated. Like I have come to understand a lot of the concepts in this book at a much deeper level now. Because I'm talking about it, because I'm living, I'm embodying many of these things that I'm talking about, because just I have read my book a few times. So my understanding of certain concepts are, just put it this way, my book is already outdated. You know what I mean? So in terms of like, is it representing me well?
Got it.
To what I believe and what I know now, to a certain point, yes, but there is kind of like an attachment to it.
Got it. Yeah, I can feel that, it happens with most of it because we are reading it so many times, but it is pretty new to someone who don't know. Yeah. So that's
For
what.
my younger self, this book would have been amazing. I wish this book had existed to support me on my journey of personal and spiritual growth.
Got it. That's interesting to know, actually. Also, I want to touch base more on some challenges that you're facing. So you mentioned the imposter syndrome and the journey of going to the end. Writers doesn't feel to complete their work, and you're also mentioning about how you felt during the process of writing your book. Like you're recalling all the past things, and you're in this healing process. You're crying, everything. Do you want to touch base of any other challenges that you face other than these?
What it means to rewrite your story, or to write your story, right, and then rewrite. When we connect to those wounds of the past, it's painful. It's painful, and sometimes, depending how we're connecting with those wounds of the past, it can perpetuate the stories. Right? So it's like a delicate balance between reliving those moments and like learning something, like going back to the past and learning them again. So I think that was the most challenging process, to really connect to the past in that way and make it so public.
If you have to start all over again regarding your book or anything, what would you do different?
I would have trusted the process more. I was rewriting too much in the beginning, and they told me not to rewrite. They say just download everything you have into the book, and it's the first manuscript. Every single writer had like a shitty manuscript. That's what they said. So I should have trusted. Like I struggled so much in the beginning to make it like the best of my ability, and in trying to perfect it that way so early, I struggled too much unnecessarily, because the book evolved. Like the first draft is just first draft. Like, it's a stepping stone towards what, the book kind of built itself up. And I want to give you an example. When I started writing the book, I said to myself, self-love was the missing piece in diversity and inclusion. Why are we not talking about that? Diversity, equity, inclusion, like self-love, and we love ourselves. Our relationship with others is projection of our own relationship with ourselves. If I'm compassionate towards myself, I can be more compassionate towards you, and it's like, we're connected that way. So yeah, I have this idea of writing the book around the topic of the missing piece. Like love being the missing piece in diversity and inclusion. But I had this big idea, like I want to interview people, I want to, and then I thought to myself, I cannot just go out there and claim this thing. I can only talk about my experience. Right? And then I said to myself, well, love is not a missing piece for me anymore. I have love. I have this love and respect for myself and for others that I never had before at this level. So the title changed. It wasn't the missing piece. It was love is the path.
Nice.
Because I understood it because, so the book, in the process of writing, it's like the book speaks to you. The book evolves. Like it's an amazing relationship. Like the more you put your words out there and you look at them and let it rest and look at it again and you start seeing different things and like, oh no, this is what it is. Right? And that gives birth to we need love in the workplace. But from the perspective of what love is and like what it is for me.
Nice. That's interesting actually. So you said trust and focus on the process instead of worrying too much. Cool. That's a good point. I actually believe that too, but following that, I have one question that maybe it's my personal question, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, how do we know, or how do we get to that point we have to trust the process or focus on the process?
So I think the process may be different for each of us, right? But in my case, I pay money to this organization to guide me to the process. So when we're doing that, when we are seeking someone that has been there, that have the knowledge, that have the know-how, and you're paying them, or even if it's not paying them, you're investing your time and your effort. We need to embrace it. Let us be guided, right? It's very different if we inspire, like things, But if we are leading, if we're embarking in these projects with love and faith and trust, things flow, right? But in the beginning, I had a lot of fear, right? So they were giving me the process, but I was like, no, I have to rewrite, and like, and like focusing so much on the grammar. And they said to me to not focus on the grammar, nobody's gonna see the manuscript. And I spent too much time on little things that were not important because the manuscript, the first manuscript was the foundation, but it doesn't exist anymore. The book evolved so much. So me spending so much time on the grammar, it was a waste of time actually, because downloading your ideas into this first manuscript is about you getting clear to what do you want to communicate with the world, and that was more valuable.
Nice, interesting. So
and when you are writing, if you just stream of consciousness, just writing, then you have spirit, you have like a divine guide within you guiding your writing. But if you're like every three sentences going back and forth and changing things and like so I struggle a little bit with that. So but everybody should just trust their intuition, because you could also be with someone that is guiding you and you knowing within yourself that that's not your process. Then you have to sit with that, right? The body has a lot of wisdom. So you sit with that and say, you know what? I need to find a different mentor. I need to find a different process.
So it's about finding experts and finding mentors and who already know that this process actually works. And if we can trust them, and we can just follow the process instead of worrying about that.
Trust.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I have to check on that. And last question is like, what advice you would give to the people who are in the process of thinking that I want to write a book, and they're having too many things going on, but the thing, or they might be having a goal of I want to write a book, but they don't know what to do. So what advice you give to the beginners in the book writing?
The most important is to start. So just whatever you, I don't know if it's OneNote, just a Word, Microsoft Word, or if in app. I used to love Evernote. I don't even know if they still exist, but if you have an app where you can 20 minutes a day, you journaling something in the app. So you're writing, one day you write, another day, inspiration come in, you do a voice recorder, you do a video, you get inspired about something, you have an ability to start like theming, playing with those sparkles of inspiration. Just getting started. Because it's much easier when you have content to organize your ideas. To say, what am I reading about? You know? But if you don't have content, if you have everything in your head, it's an idea. It never become a reality. But the moment you start allowing all of those things come out, and then you look at it, it's from a different dimension. Because when you look the things that are, when you take out the things in your head and you look at them, then you're adding to it. But if it's just an idea, it would always be an idea.
Thank you so much. Actually, I can resonate with that because I used to write few things in my notes in my mobile, but now I shifted to Word documents in drives. Actually, because they will be saved in the drive. So whenever I got something or ideas or whatever, I'm just trying to maintain different Word documents for each things and writing some stuff. Where the consistency is the key. I just need to follow some steps and give some time to it. That's actually interesting. So everybody who was having idea or goal of writing the book, just start with simple, and then we can go further. Thank you so much, Claudia, again for taking time to uh, share your journey about yourself and your process of writing your book. Love is the path.
Love is the path.
Thank you so much again. Thank you.
Thank you. Such a privilege. Thank you so much. It was fun.